Welcome in. It's a Tuesday edition of Three Man Front live from Social Taco. A very special Tuesday edition of Three Man Front. Lance Roberts, Pat Smith, Conrad Van Order is down in the square in his Pilgrim outfit. Molly Robinson running things from the studio of Jocks. Pat, how are you today?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day. It's going to be a nice, warm patio here at Social Taco. Conrad Van Order's out there dressed in his best Pilgrim outfit, because that was the first tier, right? Was the amount of money that we raised that he was going to wear a Pilgrim outfit. So we checked that box. We have now gone over $1,000 that's been raised for foods for the underprivileged here at Thanksgiving. So we're going to get to dump gravy on him tomorrow, and still working on the other tiers. But more than anything, if you cannot give us a donation to his Venmo, then you absolutely should come on by. He's outside with a bucket, and he'll take your food. Or if you're going to come up here and have lunch with us on the terrace, we've got a box. We've already got some donations. Great listeners already brought some and dropped off to us. So you got multiple ways in which you can help this holiday season and have some fun at it.
Yeah, let's see how much we can give, if it's a truckload of stuff or if you can manage during your lunch break or whenever you get some free time to run into a grocery store and grab a couple of cans of something.
The
all
good
will
news,
be appreciated.
Piggly Wiggly is less than, 2 minutes?
Yeah, it's a stone's throw.
Yeah. It's a Ty Simpson pass to Jeremy Bernard.
Yeah, Joe Milton could get it there.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Maybe Ty Simpson.
Yeah. We have got a jam-packed show for you. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll talk to Mike Griffith from DogNation.com. Covers the Southeastern Conference for the AJC, also DogNation.com. John Talty from CBS Sports. He's going to give us the very latest from what's going on in the coaching carousel world. And John is as plugged in as anybody in college football. Buddy Martin from Gator Bait. He's the one that broke the story,
Yes.
about 3 weeks ago?
Good old buddy.
That Lane Kiffin had an offer of $13.5 million at the University of Florida. Where does that stand? Evie Van Pelt from the Rebel Walk. Everyone in Oxford, they're holding their breath right now because Lane Kiffin's family, not only did they visit Gainesville over the weekend on Sunday, but he had family members in Baton Rouge, Louisiana yesterday. There's videos, there's social media, there's all sorts of fun stuff going on in Baton Rouge. So we'll see if Evie can make heads or tails of what's going on with Lane and Dimitri Ravanos, our typical 1 o'clock guest on Tuesdays. But we're going to start there with the Lane Kiffin scenario, because as we were going off the air yesterday, Landrum, the big story from the Baton Rouge Advocate, they had confirmed that an LSU plane had gone to pick up members of Lane Kiffin's family, brought them to Baton Rouge to LSU, tour the town, I guess tour the school, whatever the case may be, and then, of course, that plane ended up going back to Oxford, dropping the family back off. So that's where we are right now. What in the world is going on? It appears that Lane Kiffin's got offers from both LSU and from the University of Florida. Trey Wallace, great guest on this program. He'll be on tomorrow afternoon, but he posted on Outkick. He said the following: Lane has already spoken to Florida about the job in the past 2 weeks and is at least contemplating an upcoming offer from LSU. Trey Wallace went on to say on Outkick.com, he has been told, talking about Trey, that Florida would be the leader right now between the Tigers and the Gators if he were to leave. This is why a decision about Florida will not come down to the obvious variables because of his previous vetting for that job in another cycle. So with that being said, here's where we are. He's the current coach at Ole Miss. They're knocking on the door to the college football playoff. They got their biggest rivalry game against Mississippi State coming up next week. They got this week off, and now all of a sudden you've got, it seems like, a fourth of the conference wanting to hire Lane Kiffin.
Well, and I could see it. Lane Kiffin, he has the right to look out for his future professionally and personally and whatever that looks like. It's unfortunate for Ole Miss because of the success that he's been able to have in the time that he's been there, the winningest coach. He's won 50 games. It's pretty remarkable. But now the way that it's set up with college football, the playoff, and Ole Miss looks like they're going to be a participant of the playoffs, scheduling is not ideal. And trying to make this all work, if you're an athletic director and talking to these coaches or if you're a coach deciding to make the move, see Brian Kelly when he was at Notre
Yeah.
Dame and leaving for LSU. So a lot to sort out, and I'm sure a lot we'll discuss here in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. Let's go now to the Higginbotham Hotline. Joining us each and every Tuesday at this time from the AJC, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and also DogNation.com, covers the Southeastern Conference and the Georgia Bulldogs for those two publications. Mike Griffith joins us. And, Mike, we were just talking about the ongoing saga that is Lane Kiffin. Lane is going to be Lane. None of this should come to a shock to anybody that has covered this conference.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a good way to go about this if you're Lane Kiffin and you're considering other job opportunities. I mean, he does love Ole Miss. I'm sure he's, doing all the preparation that he can. But let's face it, I mean, he's in the spotlight and there's nowhere to hide. And if his family's, going on these visits as reported, I mean, obviously it raises some eyebrows and probably hurts some feelings in the Ole Miss community. But, the reality of it is that, he's a wanted commodity. And, I think I've said on your program the last couple of weeks, I thought he was going to Florida, and I still do think that. So what is the right way to do it? I mean, I don't know if there is a right way to exit. Nick didn't leave Alabama for another job. He just retired. So, and that was tough because look at all the players that left. I mean, goodness, just imagine if Alabama still had Caleb Downs and, the guy won the Center Award last year, helped Ohio State win a title. I know that Justice Haynes is injured, but, there's just no good way to go about it with the way the college schedule breaks down. And it's no surprise to see, Lane Kiffin in the midst of controversy once again.
And it's hard to read. He hasn't left. He hasn't gone anywhere. But, Mike, if Lane Kiffin ends up taking the Florida job or the LSU job, people will say, well, it's a money grab because the reports of what they would pay him would make him the highest paid coach in college football. But other than the money and maybe Layla's relationship there with the University of Florida and her dad, why would you leave Oxford where you've proved you can win to go to Gainesville?
I mean, Nick Saban left LSU to go to the NFL. Left the NFL to come to Alabama. A lot of people said that was a money grab. It's where you want to be, and maybe Lane feels like that he's brought Ole Miss as far as they can go, and maybe he has. If we're being realistic about it, what he's done at Ole Miss is unprecedented, and I would say that Florida has a higher ceiling. I also think it has a lower floor. I think it's a risk, but it's a risk every year in the SEC. With going to a 9-game schedule. The location, obviously, of Oxford is not necessarily ideal when it comes to prospects or even national media attention. You don't see Oxford in the neutral site games around there. I think he's done everything that can be done at Ole Miss, and if they allow him to coach out this season, I think Ole Miss would be a national championship contender. But let's face it, there's politics everywhere. And if you're Ole Miss, you feel like you're a sitting duck and your head coach is out, or your head coach's family's visiting other places and your head coach is considering other offers. And he hasn't signed an extension. And we know that Archie Manning is still carries a lot of political clout there. And I don't know how he feels about that. But it's an awkward and it's a tough situation. But I think it's kind of predictable, too. I think we knew it could come to this. If Lane was indeed considering these other schools, which I think he is, and I do think Florida feels very confident they're going to get him.
Okay, so you kind of said it, but between those three jobs, basically you feel like he's maybe hit the crescendo in regards to the pinnacle of what he could do at Ole Miss, getting them to the college football playoff. He could potentially put them in a position to play for a national championship this season. LSU and Florida, you believe that Florida, of those three jobs, has the bigger ceiling? Or do you believe because of everything that's already built in from an LSU being obviously the only state university, the flagship in the state of Louisiana, that would give him kind of an advantage over even going to a place like Florida?
I feel like it takes, it's like different jobs fit different people. Nick Saban, he's a mercenary. He can come anywhere in the galaxy and win football games. I mean, that's just Nick, right? I don't know that Lane is that. Well, he's not that. Nobody's Nick Saban. Let's get that. There's only one Nick Saban. He's the ultimate coach of our generation. He's a guy that proved he could win, and he does whatever it takes, whether you want to call it X's and O's or recruiting or whatever you want to say. There's only one Nick Saban. So take that off the table. I think LSU is a really, really hard place to win. And if Nick hadn't gotten the ball rolling, I don't know that Les Miles would have won a Tyler Edwards. I'm just going to say they wouldn't have. If Nick Saban hadn't happened to LSU, they wouldn't have got two other coaches with national titles. It's just a fact. Okay? He put the system in place there. People followed what he did. Florida's path is a little different. I mean, obviously Steve Spurrier did what he did in the 90s. Urban Meyer had his success, although his best 5 years span was 32-8. Saban's was 37-3 over 5 years. Kirby just matched 37-3. I think it's more about where Lane wants to be as a person, the state of Florida, the culture there, the communities there. You mentioned the relationship Layla had with the University of Florida. His son is a high school prospect. I feel like LSU is a different culture in the sense of more homogenous. I think that they want somebody from that area. I mean, Brian Kelly never got past the opening press conference in the fake accent. Never really accepted him. I mean, you look at the guy's record, he won over 70% of the games that ran him out of town. Really didn't do that bad. But I think LSU, and I also think it's you know, more, I want to say, political. When you think about the governor and his recent stance on the athletic track, I think it was a bad look for LSU. I think that job is tough. I think Florida's tough too, but I think kind of Florida's there for it. I think Florida wants, you know, the Lane Kiffin persona. I think they like the idea that, you know, I don't want to call him a modern-day Spurrier because he hasn't accomplished what Spurrier did. No one ever will. I don't think you're not going to see another Florida coach win 6 out of 12 SEC titles, much less a Heisman Trophy. But I think they're there for the entertainment value. I think they're signed up for that. And I think LSU, not so much. I mean, they look at the range of coaches that were there. I mean, you couldn't get more different than Nick Saban to Les Miles to Ed Orgeron and Brian Kelly. That's results-oriented. I think if things, you know, don't work out well right away, I guess I feel like Lane probably feels like a better fit for Florida would be my take on that.
Mike Griffith, DogNation.com. He covers the SEC. You can find his work at the AJC. Joining us here on Three Man Front, all of our guests join us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Another opening in the SEC here in this state, a program you have covered in your past. Auburn, John Cohen interviewing candidates. John Summerall of Tulane, that is a name that has been prominent throughout this search, but also names like Eli Drinkowitz and others picking up steam. How much smoke is there with Eli Drinkowitz? What do you think the likelihood is that he ends up, A, at Auburn, or B, ends up at another school not named Missouri next season?
Yeah, I don't see Drink as a fit for Auburn. You know, look, he's done a nice job at Missouri, better than I expected. I mean, this guy's exceeded my expectations. I was wrong about him. I don't mind saying that. I think he's a really good football coach. I think he's got a really good situation. I don't know that I would punt Missouri for Auburn. I'm not saying I don't think Auburn's a better job than that, but I think what he's built at Missouri is what he's built at Missouri. And they've got a lot of pieces in place when it comes to the NIL formula. You know, he's talked about the metropolitan areas they're able to draw from. I don't think you want to mess that up unless you want to cash it in for, you know, a marquee position where the school's already had success. I mean, whoever goes into Auburn, you know, there's still some more lifting to do, right? The culture needs to change a little bit. It needs to get back to what it was, you know, when Auburn had some swag. And listen, this Auburn team this year, guys, I don't want to undersell them. I know what the record says. But they lost to Oklahoma by a touchdown. They lost to the number 3 team in the nation by a touchdown. They dominated Georgia for 28 minutes. They had Vanderbilt on the ropes in Nashville. This is not a bet. There's a lot of good players. There's a lot of kids playing really hard. They were so close to getting over the hump this year. They really were. You know, kind of reminds me of the 2021 Auburn team. You know, they had, you know, Bam on the ropes, and Bryce Young had that unbelievable drive. I was there for that. That was still, to this day, one of the most amazing Iron Bowls I've ever covered. But Auburn's been close, but they just can't seem to get them over the hump. Now, can can this Tulane coach get him over the line? I know he had success at Troy. I know the booster knows him. I don't know enough about him. I guess that's the hire that makes sense. But let's remember, Billy Napier had a ton of success at Louisiana when Florida hired him. I don't know. Does Auburn need a dynamic hire? Do they need to – I think it wins the local press conference. Does it win the national press? I don't know. I guess it's possible. I think Auburn's close, though. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the hire. I don't want to say by default, but I would say that's more likely than hiring Eli Drinkwitz.
That is Mike Griffith from the AJC. Mike, can you hold on to the break real quick?
Sure.
Absolutely. We want to talk CFP. Georgia, big win over Texas over the weekend. Alabama loses. We'll get Mike's thought on all that next here on Three Man Front. It is 10:19. We're back live at Social Taco. Conrad Van Order is outside as we speak. You can't miss him. He's on 19th Street South here in Homewood, right in front of City Hall, wearing a Pilgrim's outfit.
He's wearing a Pilgrim's outfit. You cannot miss Conrad.
No. So come on by and donate if you can. And we've also got a donation box up here on the terrace. Let's get back to Mike Griffith from the AJC joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Big win on Saturday night between the Hedges. As the Texas Longhorns, you got to see them up close and personal again on Saturday night. your instant impressions of Arch Manning in this year's version of the Longhorns.
Yeah, I just don't think he's got the supporting cast. You know, their offensive line is not good. Their inability to run the ball is a problem. A lot on Arch's shoulders. You can't help but feel for the kid a bit. He had a chance to be at Georgia, but Peyton didn't want him there, and Texas came through, had the pitch with all gas, no brakes offense, and a couple years in, it's not panning out. But listen, Texas is a good football team, and they get off the bus, and you see where that money's being spent. But Kirby and Georgia are ascending right now. I mean, Gunnar Stockton is turning into an amazing story. His performance was impressive. The Georgia defense has improved greatly from the start of the year. It's a team that gets better and better, has a lot of momentum right now.
Mike Griffith joining us from Dog Nation, the AJC, and joining us on the Higginbotham hotline. We look at the SEC and we look at the closing couple of games for most of these teams. When you look at Georgia, you look at Alabama, you look at Texas A&M. Right now, just based on eye test, you go Georgia, you go Texas A&M as far as the best team in the conference.
I still think Georgia and Alabama are the two best teams in the conference. I'm trying to look at who Texas A&M beat, and they didn't have to play Georgia, Alabama, or Ole Miss. They were fortunate to beat South Carolina. It's a great comeback, but at the end of the day, they were down 30-3 at home to South Carolina. That it is what it is. I mean, Marcel Reed came back, but you put a quality team out there, you're not coming. And listen, Shane Beamer has done the best he can do. Those people are foolish that want to fire him. I mean, a guy built a 30-3 lead on the road against the number 3 team in the nation. You got to give him credit for that. Human nature kicks in. Kids get complacent. He'll take some blame as a head coach, but I don't think either one of those coaches win Coach of the Year for the job they did. I mean, somebody had to win, and A&M was fortunate. I don't know that I believe A&M's the best team in the league. The record says they are. They deserve to be ranked higher in the polls. But I'm not confident they're going to beat Texas in the final game of the regular season. Alabama, Kalen DeBoer has proven to me how resilient he is. That team has proven to me how resilient they are. Obviously, it was a bad day for Ty Simpson. I said last week I thought he was the best quarterback in the country. He'd probably still be my first pick. The guy threw a costly pick six, and Bama wasn't able to come back. But I still think Alabama and Georgia are the best teams in the league, and I say that knowing that Alabama's still got to play at Auburn. And we know what can happen there. And like I said, B.J. Durkin had the Tigers ready for a really good Vanderbilt team and, coulda, woulda, shoulda up there in Nashville. So we got a whale of an Iron Bowl coming out. And we'll see who plays in the SEC title game. I guess there's a way that Georgia could finish ahead of Alabama, even if Alabama beats Auburn. I guess from what I heard, the tiebreaker is, and Pat, you might have been the one I heard say it, out of these 3 games, if Arkansas beats Missouri or Kentucky over Vandy or Florida over Tennessee. If 2 of those 3 things happen, Georgia wins the tiebreak, right?
That is correct.
So, and there's a lot of, not Kirby Smart, but there's some Georgia fans saying, hey, if you can be the number 4 seed without playing in the SEC championship game, a la 2017 Alabama, not playing the SEC title game and winning a national title, that on paper that looks the best. But doesn't really matter what we want, guys. It's going to play out how it's going to play out, and it's going to be a fantastic finish for the SEC.
And speaking of that, we'll have another edition of the College Football Playoff Rankings tonight. We've still got plenty of ball left, so this is just a barometer of where things currently stand in the CFP. But I'm just curious, as of this moment, do you feel confident that the SEC will get at least 4 teams in the College Football Playoff, or you think they potentially could get 5?
Yeah, I'm confident they'll get 4, and they could potentially get 5. And I'm not confident, though, that Georgia will hold that number 4 spot next week. Now, this week, they're obviously going to move up after beating Texas 35-10, and, Texas Tech, took care of business. But, last week, we watched Texas Tech jump Ole Miss, even though Ole Miss beat the Citadel 49-0, and outgained them about 600 yards to 100. So, next week, Saturday, Georgia's playing Charlotte, a terrible American Conference team. It's 1-9, and Texas Tech's playing West Virginia. And if Texas Tech beats a Power 4 team, are they going to jump Texas Tech over Georgia so that the potential Big 12 champion gets the bye? because politically that's the political thing to do. And I'm just not real convinced that the committee is going to keep Georgia above Texas Tech, not this week, but next week when they beat Charlotte and Texas Tech beat West Virginia.
No, that's a great point, and I could see the likelihood of that happening. In regards to the CFP, you've been covering this for a while. The issues with Mack Rhodes stepping down as chairperson. Now Hunter Yurachek, and of course he's going to have to recuse himself. He's going to have to do that anyway, but being on the committee anytime an SEC school is being discussed or talked about. But do you think that has any relevance at all in regards to the CFP or the line of thinking moving forward now that there's a new chairperson?
Oh, yeah. One less SEC person in the room. Great, right? I mean, good grief. I mean, as if these standings weren't already slanted enough. You know, I had a chance to talk with Greg Sankey Saturday night before the game, and he just said they monitor it weekly. He wouldn't say anything about how the rankings are shaking out. Commissioner Sankey's still optimistic that many SEC teams will get in. He's still optimistic that the 9-game schedule can help the SEC. He's looking at that as a glass half full, very positive attitude towards that. I'll be honest, guys. I mean, the College Football Playoff Committee is turned into a bit of a circus for me, and I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't disappointed. I've been critical before of the whole concept that you can have, sitting athletic directors and former coaches in there that have, complete objective. I don't know a person on the planet that's completely objective. I mean, at some point there's bias in all of us. I think we know that. I mean, we're human beings. I don't think AI is the answer. Somebody's got to program that. I think AI's got some bias too when you get right down to it. I mean, my goodness, look at your history books. Who wrote the book, basically tells you what happened in past world wars and things like that. I just don't think there's a perfect system. And the answer that, oh, this is great, people are going to talk about it, it doesn't satisfy me, particularly when it appears slanted towards major media markets and higher television ratings, which the Big Ten has in terms of the media market size. I mean, come on. Ohio State beat Texas by a touchdown and got outgained by over 100 yards. And you just saw what Georgia did to Texas. I mean, the Big Ten has not shown us anything for there to be a basis that they're a supreme conference. And yet, I wouldn't surprise me if they found a way to keep Iowa in the top 25 with 4 losses just so they can point to Iowa being a quality win for these teams.
He is Mike Griffith. Always a treat at Mike Griffith 32 there on Twitter. You can also find his work at the AJC and DogNation.com. Mike, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. We're very thankful for you.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
You as well. Mike joins us, as all of our guests do, on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham's your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
So if you're a homeowner and you notice cracks that have started showing up around your home, those doors and windows just won't close right, you can't ignore it because those issues are going to get worse over time. That's why you need to call Alabama Professional Services at 205-951-9717. It'll be the best decision you've made to protect your home in quite some time. APS are going to send a team out. They really know their stuff. They'll inspect everything, explain the problem clearly, and they're going to offer solutions that are tailored to your home. No pressure, just honest advice. So if you're dealing with foundation issues and you see those cracks, maybe even a wet basement, sinking concrete, do yourself a favor. Call Alabama Professional Services. You can reach them at 205-951-9717 or go to their website, alabamaprofessional.com. Trust me, you'll be glad you did.
Well, we just learned from Mike Griffith and some smoke, plenty of smoke around college football for head coaching vacancies. We'll give you the latest as we continue. It is a Taco Tuesday, but a special Taco Tuesday here from Social Taco. We are taking your non-perishable food donations. Conrad is outside dressed as a pilgrim here in the square in Homewood, and also monetary donations. Anything you can do to help out some families that could sure use the help this Thanksgiving and holiday season. We sure appreciate it. Three-man front continues here on Jocks.
It's 10:33. Welcome back in. Appreciate Mike Griffith getting us started on this Tuesday. John Talty from CBS Sports will join us at 11. Buddy Martin from Gator Bait later on, along with Evie Van Pelt from the Rebel Walk. Dimitri Ravenos from SEC Out Undercover. What was he? SEC Unfiltered.
Unfiltered.
That's right. He's also now working for
Awful Announcing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's all over the place.
Yeah, and he's still on the dancing circuit for retirement parties and stuff like that. He goes and performs.
Bat mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs.
Mm-hmm. All of that good stuff.
Good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, what we are doing here at Social Taco, we're doing our program as we do every Tuesday. He's got a crowd. I just walked outside. Conrad Van Order is outside with a bunch of listeners, and
Okay.
he is wearing his Pilgrim outfit because that was the first tier of raising money that he was going to have to wear the Pilgrim outfit. So he's out there right now. We've already got some non-perishable goods that have been dropped off, so we appreciate that. We're going to be at, well, we're not. Me and you're going to be doing the show from here, but Conrad's going to be outside until 2 o'clock. And, Molly, do I understand that we have a live report from about 50 feet away from me and Landrum? Is that correct?
Yes, we do, Pat, from the one and only Don Don.
Oh, yeah, Don Don's out there. So let's hear from Don Don. What is the very latest, Don Don?
Yeah, we've had a few people stop by already, and they're going to go get some food and everything and bring it back. But we got me and Miss Mary, me and the Godfather, and, of course, Mr. Pilgrim with Conrad. Conrad looks good in that Pilgrim outfit, guys.
Doesn't he?
Like, he really
Yeah.
does.
Well, Landrum was giving him a hard time this morning because the collar was not pressed.
Well, I asked him. He had 4 days to press the collar.
No, what? I think he did get the collar pressed.
Okay.
The collar looks good. He's
Okay.
laughing. He's laughing about that. Okay.
Okay. Well, hey, put Conrad on. Let's hear from Conrad.
Yeah.
What do you-
Hang on just a second.
What do you think the chances are that Conrad's wearing anything under that suit?
Oh, zero.
Zero chance,
No,
right?
he's going commando
Yep.
in the Pilgrim outfit. Because Pilgrims didn't wear underwear, did they?
I don't know. Maybe a cloth or maybe a broad-based leaf
Oh, okay.
with some string.
Pat, I can confirm they did not wear underwear.
They did not. Okay. I did not know that. Okay.
So you're going totally authentic today. We were asking you guys were trading the phone back and forth. I said, what are the chances that Conrad's wearing anything under that Pilgrim suit? And Pat immediately said there's no chance.
Oh, no, it's too soft for me to wear anything underneath. I'm cozy as can be out here.
It's like
Oh, right on brand. All right. All kidding aside, this is a great event. I was just out there talking to you just 5 minutes ago, and already had a couple of people just walk by. Just great people here in Homewood, right off of 19th Street South, right in front of City Hall. You cannot miss the Pilgrim
no.
that is standing there in the Soho
if you
portion of
miss
Homewood.
it, then you need somebody driving you if
So,
you can't see him.
So just remind everybody what we're doing, Conrad, and what's at stake and what we're trying to do.
Yeah, so we are, most importantly, obviously, trying to raise money for some families in need, get some food donations going to help their holiday season be a little more special. But we're doing this also to make fun of me a little bit. So as the donations continue to roll in, and I just want to thank all of our listeners because we have already passed the $1,000 threshold, and we are quickly approaching the next goal. But as it stands now, yes, I'm in the Pilgrim costume for the entirety of today. I'll also be in the Pilgrim costume tomorrow. If you come see us at the station, I'll be doing a choreographed dance by one Molly Robinson approximately every 15 minutes tomorrow to celebrate the donations. The next year we have the gravy victory bath that will be done at the end of tomorrow's show, where I will be covered in some wonderful gravy before I drive home. And then we have a Thanksgiving food challenge involving cranberry sauce and corn on the cob, apple pie, all that good stuff. That is the $2,000 tier. And then finally, the $3,000 tier is me wearing an Auburn jersey and having Auburn face paint the Friday before the Iron Bowl. So hopefully we can keep raising some money for those in need and have some fun along the way.
Very nice sign that Coy and the staff helped to make there outside, too. Very well done.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can't miss the sign, and if you somehow miss the sign, you can't miss me in the Pilgrim costume.
Well, it's cool because you've already got some food dropped off there with you, and we've also got food that's been dropped off up here on the Taco Terrace. So we just invite anyone that wants to come up here and have lunch here at Social Taco. have an opportunity to either drop some food off with Conrad in front of Social Taco, or you can bring it up here with me and Lane.
And monetary donations, if you want to Venmo those, I know that the $1,000 that we raised yesterday, that food has
already been purchased.
It's been purchased.
That's right.
It's been procured. So we'd like to get a couple more truckloads at least today that we can go and get, and we continue tomorrow just doing whatever we can to help some folks that could certainly use the help this holiday season. Conrad, thank you. If you need anything, let us know. Temperature should be around 75, but you've got a pretty hot sun there in that black whatever velour that you're wearing, so be careful.
Oh no, I'm doing great, Landrum. It's the weather feels wonderful, and hopefully see a bunch of more people coming by until 2:00. So y'all have fun up there.
All right, thanks. That's Conrad Van Order, live on location in front of Social Taco, wearing a Pilgrim's outfit and no underwear.
Didn't he say that he confirmed that pilgrims didn't wear underwear? Or did I hear that right?
He did.
No,
Okay.
you heard that correctly.
He did. I don't know if that's.
Is that accurate?
I feel like back then you probably needed something. Probably didn't. I don't know.
Like burlap?
I don't know though. You're
Blood chafing.
you cooped up on that Mayflower for a long time. Ugh. Yeah. I started thinking about poop cruise. You imagine the conditions on that thing?
Scurvy.
Well, if you live through the boat ride, you don't catch something.
There was a child that was born on the Mayflower. Did you know that?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yep. Sure was.
What'd they name it?
If I'm not mistaken, I want to say Oceanic. I'm not making that up.
Oceanic?
I believe so. I'm double checking.
Okay. It's unique.
Nope, I was wrong. It was Oceanus.
Well, be careful with that one.
Oceanus
Hopkins.
Yep. Was born. So I was close. I get credit for that?
Yeah.
If I was on a game show, would I get credit for that?
Yeah. Yeah, judges would allow that. That's a pretty strong pull by you. Oceanus.
I'm telling you, the things that I should remember, I don't.
Yeah.
The things that make no relevance whatsoever, I remember.
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
Yeah.
Just
Guilty.
weird.
Guilty.
Very odd. Okay, we were talking about all this coaching mess. What's going on? When we come back on Three Man Front, we're going to give you the very latest of what we have seen, what we have been told, what we are hearing, all that straight ahead. That's next on Three Man Front. It is 10:45 here on Jocks. We'll give you the very latest of what we're hearing in regards to the coaching carousel. It's quite a mess right now going on throughout college football. One thing that's not a mess, and if you know someone that is in need of a roof, and it's the holidays, Abide Roofing is doing something that is truly spectacular. They're giving one deserving homeowner a brand new roof completely free. This is not a gimmick. It's not a sales pitch. It's their way of saying thank you to the community that has trusted Abide Roofing with their homes. Here's how it works. You go to abideroof.com. You fill out a quick form. Look for a green bar at the top of the homepage. Nominate yourself or someone who deserves it. Then watch out for the winning announcement coming up next month. Value is up to a 30-square roof, or roughly $13,000. Maybe it's someone who's fallen on hard times and can't afford repairs, or it's a single parent who's working 2 jobs that just needs to make ends meet. Maybe it's a veteran, first responder, teacher who's always giving back to others. Or maybe it's just that neighbor who volunteers for every local event, a true pillar of the community. Whoever it is, Abide Roofing, they want to hear their story. So at Abide Roofing, they believe everyone deserves a safe, reliable roof over their head, and this is their way of giving back. Don't wait. Entries are open now. Enter through December 12th, 2025. Winner will be announced on December 19th, 2025. So for complete details and to enter the free roofing giveaway, visit abideroof.com.
Coaching rumors, hot boards continuing to be updated. Vegas odds are also continuing to be updated. We'll start with Auburn and their coaching search, John Cohen. It was reported by folks that covered the Auburn program yesterday that reportedly Cohen was believed to have met with John Sumrall again yesterday. But the interesting question now is, if it is John Sumrall, the timeline that you've laid out, Pat, you've said to DJ Durkin, or you've said DJ Durkin will get an interview. If you want to have your coach named right after the Iron Bowl, you would think that the hiring would probably have to take place, some kind of understanding this week. Then next week you have agents, attorneys, structure, dot I's, cross T's, contract, you have the announcement made. But how do you do all of this if you're not going to wait until the end of the season to talk to DJ Durkin? And maybe Cohen has decided to talk to him prior to that, but you've also got Ole Miss. And if they decide to tell Lane Kiffin, you know what, you can go to LSU, you can go to Florida, it's obvious you don't want to be here anymore. From my understanding, that will not even be an interview. That will be a call to Sumrall's people. There will be no interview, and that's Sumrall's job if he wants it.
Yeah, I think the timeline that you laid out is exactly what Auburn is looking at in regards. Me personally, I believe, like you said, it's either Sumrall or Durkin. I know that he has probably kicked the tires on a couple of other potential people that he has talked to, but all indications are that it is still John Sumrall first and foremost on that list. In regards to some other jobs around the Southeastern Conference, the big one is Lane Kiffin. The story that we talked about when the show began. It happened yesterday afternoon. LSU, they send a plane, picks up some of his family members. They fly them to Baton Rouge. They take a look at the campus. They take a look at the city. Apparently on Sunday, family members for Lane Kiffin, they were in Gainesville, Florida, basically doing the same thing. So what's it going to come down to? Is it stay at a place where the last 6 years he has won more games than any other coach in the history of Ole Miss football? He's got him on the precipice of being in the college football playoff. Does he go to a place like LSU, a flagship university in the state? They got tons of talent right there, literally within walking distance of the campus of LSU. Just incredible high school talent there. Needless to say, Ocala, Gainesville, Florida, the same in regards to talent. But Lane Kiffin doesn't like to recruit very much. You know, he's done his success in Oxford based out of the transfer portal. So how much does that mean, him going to LSU or to Gainesville, Florida? I will tell you this. Ole Miss has given him an ultimatum. They have had a contract on the table, I've been told, over the course of the last couple weeks. For whatever reason, he has drug his feet. They have not addressed it. And it's going to come to a point in time, Landrum, that Ole Miss is going to tell him to either blank or get off the pot. And if you want to be here long term, we need an answer before the Egg Bowl. You're probably going to get to coach in the Egg Bowl, but if you decide I'm going to go elsewhere or I can't commit until after the season, Ole Miss is not going to be held hostage here. They can't. There's too many other things in play here. If he wants to go somewhere else, I think there's a large portion of the Ole Miss fans say thank you for your service, but we've got to move on. We have got to get involved in a coach search because Florida's looking for someone. Arkansas is looking for someone, okay? So we're going to be mixed up with all these folks if he ends up going to LSU. So Ole Miss is going to give him an ultimatum. And what that ultimatum ultimately is, it's Lane Kiffin. You never know what that answer is going to be.
Yeah, and then you think about the what ifs. So if Summerall would have been your top guy, but let's just say he's at Auburn at that point, then who else is on your list? Is it a South Florida's Alex Golesh? Well, Alex Golesh, his name, and according to Vegas, his name is shot up the Oklahoma State coaching board.
He used to be an assistant, or I believe a graduate assistant there.
He's now the odds-on favorite there. So I don't know who else Ole Miss would have in mind if it was not John Summerall. I'm sure that they have a list of folks that they'd like to talk to. But, yeah, it's very interesting. And the domino effect. Eli Drinkowitz, what happens with Eli? I think that he probably lands somewhere else, but he's the new odds-on favorite, according to Vegas and betonline.ag, to be the next head coach in Happy Valley.
So here's an interesting twist to this whole story with Lane Kiffin. So Glenn Guilbeau, he has covered LSU for a very long time. He has written for multiple papers. He's been a beat writer for LSU. He went to Outkick a couple years ago. Now he's back. He's writing for the Tiger Rag, which is one of the fan sites for LSU. I'm going to read you something that he posted last night. He said, Nick Saban is trying to convince Kiffin that LSU is the best job for him and better than Florida. A source very close to LSU told Tiger Rag on Monday afternoon. LSU flew members of Kiffin's family without Lane on a private plane to Baton Rouge on Monday on a reconnaissance trip about the job after family members made such a trip to the Florida campus in Gainesville on Sunday. Kiffin, 50, is a year older now than Saban was when he left Michigan State after the 1999 season for LSU. Super Sports agent Jimmy Sexton of Memphis was Saban's agent then and throughout his coaching career, and now has Saban in his college football analyst role at ESPN. This is a direct quote from the Tiger Rag. Through Jimmy Sexton, Nick is telling Lane that LSU is the job for him if he wants to win a national championship, and that it's better than Florida because the recruiting class and base in Louisiana, and LSU is the only major program in the state, end of quote. Saban, according to Tiger Rag and Glenn Guilbeau, Saban gave Verge Osbury the names of 3 other college head coaches to consider if LSU can't get Kiffin: Missouri coach Eli Drinkwitz, Georgia Tech coach Brent Key, and Louisville coach Jeff Brom, the source told Tiger Rag.
Interesting.
Now, Nick Saban is paid $41,667 a month by the University of Alabama. Why is the university paying Nick Saban to give advice to an athletics director at a rival institution in the Southeastern Conference at who they should hire to be the next head football coach? Can somebody please explain that to me?
It's a fair question.
If this story is accurate, as Glenn Guilbeau is reporting, Saban gave Verge Osbury the names of 3 other coaches to consider if LSU can't get Kiffin: Drinkwitz, Key, Brom, the source said. What is Alabama paying Nick Saban for? So that Nick Saban can run a consulting agency and he can go around the Southeastern Conference and they can give his thoughts and hire people that's going to go up against the university that's paying him $41,667 a month? Can somebody make sense to that for me? Why? What is Alabama paying him for?
That's a wonderful question, Pat. I don't know. I don't know what he does, but I had not even thought about that angle that he's still getting that paycheck from the university. He's still serving there in some kind of capacity, air quotes.
Would Cumulus Media allow me or you to go to XYZ Broadcasting and give a name of 3 or 4 people that potentially could be a great sports talk show host for another station?
No. And I realize that he's got a history there and he's got a personal relationship with Verge, but
then
still,
let LSU pay him.
You're exactly right. You're getting out cheap because there's a lot of money that are paid for these search firms. I don't know if you've They're still in business, by the way. No, that's a great point by you, Pat. I
just don't get it. I would think that is a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
If that story is true, if Glenn Guilbeau, who has been covering LSU for a long time and knows Saban, if that story is true, then he is openly helping LSU try to find their next head football coach.
Yeah, it's not that big of a problem if it's Michigan State that calls and asks for his advice. Actually, it's probably not that big of a deal if South Carolina or Kentucky calls and asks for his advice. But LSU?